Emma wasn't in uniform, just a quiet tech with a clipboard, walking the edges of a Nevada airfield like she didn't belong. They dismissed her, until an F-18 started failing mid-air. While the tower froze, she picked up a dusty headset and did what no one else could. The pilot survived, but what happened in that moment changed more than just the flight path. This story of injustice and eventual redemption deserves to be shared. So, hit that like button and subscribe to follow more true stories of courage in the face of discrimination. Now, let's rewind to see how this explosive situation began. It was just past 5:30 a.m. at a remote Air Force base tucked deep in the Nevada desert. The kind of cold that bites through denim clung to the flight line, and a thin curtain of fog drifted low across the runway. Emma was already on her third systems check of the morning. Clipboard in hand, steel-toed boots worn thin at the heel, civilian jacket zipped tight against the wind. She wasn't there for recognition. She was there because she knew this place, its wiring, its comm channels, its blind spots. For over a decade, she'd worked as a contracted systems tech, never once missing a signal spike or software glitch. But it never mattered much to the brass upstairs. To them, she wasn't command, she wasn't rank, she was the woman with a clipboard. Background noise. That morning, while rechecking a signal near the North Relay Post, Emma caught something strange. A timing flicker on Channel 5. The vector guidance loop assigned to that day's F-18 exercise. It wasn't loud, no alarms blared, just a single frequency pulse, repeating every 8 seconds. Wrong, off, dangerous. She logged the anomaly, then made the call no one ever wanted her to make. She climbed the tower stairs. Inside, the control room buzzed with clipped commands and blinking lights. The shift commander, Major Wilcox, didn't even turn around when she entered. Contractors downstairs, he muttered. Lieutenant Brecker, standing nearby, smirked. Ma'am, if you're lost, the maintenance bay's the other way. Emma calmly explained what she saw, the drift in the guidance channel, the risk of misalignment. She didn't raise her voice. She didn't overstep. She just spoke the truth. And they shoved her, not violently, just enough to push her back through the doorway. Her shoulder hit the steel frame. Her clipboard hit the floor. Her dignity stayed intact. She picked it up. No one apologized. No one even blinked. Emma walked out of the tower, alone, down the same stairs she'd climbed with good faith. She sat on the cold bench near the base, the one nobody important ever used, and waited. Because something told her this day wasn't done testing her. And miles above the fog, that test was already tearing through the sky, while the sun rose slow over the desert and Emma sat quietly beneath the tower. The flicker in Channel 5 didn't stop. Every 8 seconds, like a missed heartbeat, it pulsed. Up in the control room, no one noticed. Or worse, they noticed and assumed it didn't matter. But Emma knew better. She'd seen this pattern before. Not often, and never this close to a scheduled F-18 drill, but enough to know that small errors in the guidance loop could lead to big disasters when the sky filled with noise, speed, and fast-moving metal. She didn't just notice problems. She understood systems, how they breathed, pulsed, and sometimes failed quietly before they exploded loudly. That's what no one up there realized. Emma wasn't just a clipboard tech. 15 years earlier, she'd worn the uniform herself, worked in forward-deployed units overseas, handling critical comms infrastructure under pressure no textbook could prepare you for. She'd rewired whole guidance arrays in sandstorms, stabilized failing drones mid-flight from a dusty laptop. Her commendations weren't public, but they were real. She hadn't lost her edge. She'd just stepped back. And that silence? That space they used to ignore her? It became her greatest strength. While the tower buzzed with misplaced confidence, Emma ran calculations in her head. She retraced the drift, ran contingency plans. If this flicker reached outbound telemetry, and a pilot relied on that bad data, it could throw off an approach path, even trigger an autocorrect loop mid-flight. And that meant someone might soon be flying blind at Mach 1. But no one had asked for her report. No one had called her name. They'd shoved her down the stairs, told her where she didn't belong, and carried on like nothing was wrong. Until the emergency tone hit. That's when everything changed. One shrill alarm across the base cut through the morning like a blade. Comms scrambled, voices shouted, And somewhere in the clouds above, an F-18 pilot's voice cracked through the static, tense, shaking, blind. Tower, I've taken a hit, no visuals, losing left throttle. And just like that, the room that rejected her had no answers. But Emma did. She stood up from the bench, exhaled once, and walked toward a panel nobody had touched in years. If you're still listening to this story with me, comment the number 1 down below, because what happens next is the moment everything turns. And Emma? She was just getting started. The alarm echoed across the flight line, high-pitched, protocol-coded, and unmistakable. Inside the tower, panic surged, voices overlapped, monitors blinked in red. The radar screen showed the F-18's altitude bleeding fast as it veered off its planned vector. On speaker, the pilot's voice crackled through again. Fuel dumping, partial hydraulics, left systems gone. He was young, seasoned, but rattled. Upstairs, Major Wilcox barked orders at his team like volume could substitute for clarity. Re-engage override, recalibrate vector assist, stay in pattern. But the system wasn't listening. And no one knew why. No one, except Emma. She didn't need clearance. She didn't ask permission. She walked back to the relay panel at the base of the tower, a scratched metal box half buried in conduit and memory. Most of the crew didn't even remember it existed. Emma did. She flipped the latch. The interior buzzed dim green. It was a diagnostics port. Unsecured, isolated, but still connected just enough to matter. Her hands moved with precision. Headset on. Mic live, not on tower comms, but on a manual channel nobody above was monitoring. The kind that wasn't logged, just used by those who actually knew how things worked. Hawk 1, she said calmly into the mic. You've lost vector assist. Don't fight the drift. Let it pull you 3 degrees west. Level out at 6.000 feet. Stabilizers only. Do you copy? There was static, then confusion. Who is this? This isn't tower. Emma's voice didn't waver. It's not, but if you want to stay airborne, do exactly what I say. You've got 20 seconds. Back in the tower, chaos reigned. Wilcox was shouting again. Who's broadcasting? That's not one of our channels. His team scrambled, trying to trace the signal. No one could, because Emma wasn't in their system. She'd built her own workaround, and she was already 10 steps ahead. On the panel in front of her, trim readings shifted, altitude stabilized. Through the headset came the words she'd been waiting for. Copy that. Holding level. Port side stabilizers live. Emma didn't smile. She didn't flinch. She just kept talking. She gave instructions in short, steady bursts, adjusting altitude, recalibrating turn radius, prepping the pilot for limited gear landing. She wasn't improvising. She was executing. And above her, in the tower full of rank and noise, no one was in control anymore. Because the only person truly guiding that jet was the one they'd pushed out. Now the question wasn't if she could save him. It was how she'd do it with the world watching. The jet was no longer falling, but it still wasn't flying safe. Up in the tower, Wilcox's command had turned frantic. Shut it down. Kill external signal, he shouted. Langley, the radar tech, hovered by the console, eyes darting between readouts and warning lights. She's not on our grid, he muttered, almost to himself. It's not coming from us. They couldn't trace her, couldn't control her, but her voice was the only one the pilot trusted. Down below, Emma adjusted the trim dial with 2 fingers and spoke with the kind of clarity that doesn't come from training manuals, but from experience earned the hard way. Hawk 1, wind shear southeast. Let it push. Don't fight it. Roll with the drift. Right rudder only. Steady hands. Copy. The pilot replied. Breath still short. Panels cracked. Left gears not responding. Emma didn't miss a beat. Then we go 1 wheel. You'll land on your right strut. Keep throttle live until nose hits. Then throttle back hard. Let gravity settle you. No panic. No hesitation. She knew the readings before the pilot said them. She felt the system like an extension of her own breath. Around the base, personnel began gathering along the edge of the tarmac. Maintenance crews, line techs, even medics. But they weren't staring at the tower. They were watching the bottom of the stairs, where Emma sat. Headset on, fingers dancing over a panel most had forgotten even existed. Above them, the jet cut through the fog. Off-center and crooked. Right gear locked. Left still stowed. A shriek of steel echoed as tires scraped the runway. Sparks burst behind the wheels. For a split second, it looked like it would all go wrong. Then, it didn't. The fuselage bucked, tilted, then settled. A long skid, a trail of smoke, and then, silence. The jet had stopped. The pilot was alive, and the voice that brought him home wasn't coming from the tower. It came from a woman with no badge, no title, and a clipboard on her lap. If you're still listening to this story with me, drop a number 2 in the comments, because that moment changed everything. But we're not done yet. Because when the pilot climbed out and walked toward Emma, what he did next left the entire base speechless. The airfield was still. No one cheered. No one moved. The emergency was over. But the silence that followed was louder than the sirens ever were. Emma sat at the base of the tower. Headset still in her lap. Clipboard resting lightly on her knee. The static in her earpiece had faded. But her breathing remained steady, like she was still guiding someone home. Across the runway, the F-18's canopy cracked open. The pilot, flight suit torn, one glove missing, helmet dangling loosely in one hand, climbed down slowly. He didn't wave to the medics. He didn't look toward the tower. He walked with purpose, each step cutting through the hush like a signature written in dust. And then he stopped, right in front of Emma. No words, just a clean, deliberate salute, not rushed, not ceremonial, but earned. One hand raised high for the person who'd kept him alive when every other voice failed him. Emma looked up, her expression unreadable, then gave the smallest of nods, quiet, calm, complete. That single moment rippled across the base. You could feel it, the unspoken recognition that something just shifted. The chain of command, the perception of power, the very idea of who leads during crisis, all of it bent in her direction. Behind them, Wilcox stormed down the tower steps, red-faced, fuming. Where the hell is command? He barked into the comms. Who gave her permission to hijack that channel? Someone in the crowd answered, voice low but clear. She saved him. Others echoed it. We all heard her. She was the only one talking sense. She's the reason he's standing. Wilcox sputtered, but his authority had already crumbled. A base security officer stepped forward, calm and firm. Sir, I'm going to have to ask for your access badge. Wilcox froze. What? Protocol requires review of all tower actions during override emergencies. The officer continued. Command privileges are suspended until audit is complete. And just like that, the man who shoved Emma out of the room was the one removed from it. But Emma? She hadn't moved an inch. She didn't need to. She didn't chase credit. She didn't gloat. Her headset was off. Her clipboard closed. Still, every eye remained on her, not because someone told them to, but because respect had finally found its rightful place. If this story has moved you so far, don't forget to stay with me, because what came next wasn't a medal or a headline. It was something far more lasting. And it all began when a woman named Vanessa approached Emma with something no one else had dared offer: accountability. The dust had barely settled on the tarmac when she arrived. Vanessa Laurie, oversight civilian from the Pentagon, known on base mostly by title, rarely by presence. But this morning, she didn't come with protocol. No entourage, no clipboard of her own. Just a slim, black badge held gently in her right hand. Emma saw her before the others did. Vanessa didn't interrupt the moment. She didn't make a speech. She just stopped a few feet away, offering space, and said quietly, I read your file. We owe you an apology. Emma didn't respond right away. She kept her eyes forward, still watching the runway, the same stretch of concrete she had walked every morning for years. With no audience and no acknowledgement, Vanessa didn't push. Instead, she stepped closer and opened her palm. The badge glinted, matte black, with nothing flashy, no insignia, no rank, just a single etched line: oversight access. Civilian command authority. I'm not here to promote you, Vanessa said, just to return what should have never been taken. Emma looked down. The badge wasn't heavy, but it felt solid, like something built to last. She didn't take it right away. She let it hang there in the air between them, like a question. Then, with quiet certainty, she reached out and accepted it. She didn't smile. but her grip said everything. The two women stood there a moment longer, two professionals. Forged in different rooms, meeting in the same moment of clarity. Emma placed the badge beside her clipboard on the bench. The old and the new. Her past and her presence. And in that stillness, something shifted, not on the surface, but underneath, where real change happens. She didn't need a title. She didn't crave a corner office. What she had now was voice. And space. And a kind of earned gravity no one could take back. Later that morning, Emma climbed the tower stairs again. Not rushed, not invited, just rightful. No one stopped her. No one questioned it. The console crew stood quietly as she entered. Langley, the only one who had paused during the chaos, gave her a simple nod. She returned it. Emma took her seat at the observation deck. Headset on, clipboard at her side, her breath steady, no red lights blinking, just calm skies ahead. If you're still here listening with me, thank you, because next, we'll see what Emma did not with power, but with presence. Because the morning wasn't over. And when the next squadron called in for clearance, guess who they trusted to guide them? The sky over Nevada had turned soft, a pale blend of blue and silver, streaked with the warmth of a late morning sun. On the observation deck, Emma sat alone, headset resting comfortably against her ears. Mic lowered but not yet live. She didn't need to speak just yet. This time, the silence belonged to her. Her clipboard lay closed beside her, badge tucked neatly inside the front flap. The old one, scratched, sun-faded, and worn from years of being overlooked, now sat next to a symbol of quiet authority. She hadn't chased the title. She hadn't raised her voice. She simply showed up, did the job, and let truth speak louder than status. Below, the airfield had returned to motion. Mechanics rolled tool carts. Flight crews jogged across the tarmac. Life moved, but different now. Slower, more aware, because everyone knew what they'd witnessed. Not a rescue, a reckoning, and no one had forgotten where the real command came from. A new squadron lined up along taxiway Bravo, their silhouettes sharp against the desert light. One by one, they prepared for clearance, but before any jet left the ground, a calm voice crackled through the headset channel. Observation to Echo 6, you're clear on south approach. Winds calm, no traffic in your airspace. It's a good day to fly. Emma's voice, measured, grounded, unmistakable. There was a pause. Then the pilot responded, a little smile in his tone. Copy that, ma'am, and, thank you. Emma didn't answer. She didn't need to. Because now, when she spoke, people listened. No rank stitched into her collar. No uniform announcing authority. Just presence. Earned, proven, permanent. Downstairs, no one looked toward the tower expecting a man in a flight suit to be calling the shots. Not anymore. When they glanced up now, they imagined her, headset on, eyes scanning, hands steady, the woman who had sat outside for years. Ignored. The one they couldn't stop once she started. And that was the lesson. Power doesn't always walk into a room with boots and a badge. Sometimes, it waits outside, quiet, overlooked, underestimated, until the moment it's needed most. And when that moment comes, it doesn't ask for permission. It simply takes the mic. Emma didn't become someone new that day. She just returned to who she had always been. And this time, the whole base knew it. Sometimes, the strongest voice in the room is the one no one hears until everything goes wrong. Emma's story isn't just about air traffic or crisis control. It's about how we, as a society, measure value. It's a reminder that competence doesn't always wear a badge, and leadership isn't always the loudest person in the tower. How many people do we walk past every day, at work, in meetings, even in our families, because they don't look like what we expect from authority? Because they're quiet, or different, or not in uniform? Emma didn't save that pilot because she had something to prove. She did it because she knew what mattered. Stay calm. Solve the problem. Help someone survive. No spotlight. No ego. Just action. Precision. Clarity. And in doing so, she showed us that true strength isn't declared, it's revealed. When the world is watching, or when no one is. So maybe you're Emma. Maybe you're someone who's been overlooked. Someone with skills, experience, and heart, but not the title. Not the recognition. Not the mic. This story is for you. And if you've ever been that person, underestimated, ignored, or pushed aside, I want you to know this. Keep showing up, keep doing the work, because when the moment comes, and it will, you won't need to raise your voice. Your presence will speak for itself. If this story meant something to you, I hope you'll take a second to like the video, and subscribe for more stories that honor the quiet strength in people like Emma and maybe in people like you too. And tell me in the comments, have you ever felt unseen, until the moment you finally were? Your story matters. Let's keep telling them.